Okay, hi guys. Welcome to the introductory editing workshop. Woo, let's go. Okay, so today, little introduction. We're gonna go through basic Premiere terminology. We're gonna successfully create a sequence together if you guys have a computer. Otherwise, obviously, we can also just look on mine. And then we're gonna import and export media smoothly. I wanna give a shout out to my friend Jonas who helped me make this presentation a year ago. I don't know if you've met him, but he's also a great editor. So has everybody here connected to the NUTV server before? No, okay. So I'm gonna go through how to do that just because that's basically where we do all of our editing. So if you have a Mac, I can go through, does everybody here have a Mac? Or you don't? Okay, I can go through that separately. But if you do have a Mac, I can show you here. If you click like on just your desktop and you see like the little Finder section, or you could even click on like Finder in the corner there, you're able to hit Go on the top and then scroll down to the Connect to Server section. Does everybody see that? And then obviously I'll go through with you separately. You all see that? Okay, cool. So once you get to there, you're gonna put in this, I'll put it right here, this ID, just so that you're able to connect to our server, which is where we house all of our media. And then we'll be able to make a nice file structure through that. So anytime you're in the office or if you're on campus, then it'll be super easy to be able to access the server in that way. It is Snickerdoodle, yeah, yeah. So you go to like Finder and then you'll go to Connect to Server under the Go section, and then you should be able to get in there.
So what does this do?
So this will bring you to the server where we house like all of our media for the club so that you'll be able to edit and organize your files a little bit more coherently. Yeah. So then you'll probably, once you connect, you're gonna get to this little home page here. And before you get in there, you might have to put in temp1 and password as the username and password so that you can actually get into the server. So under, where it says name, you can put temp1.
Like capital T?
That's actually perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, just temp1, and then you can put the password as password, and then you should be able to connect.
Oh.
Did you unlock it? Did you get in? Awesome. Okay, so in terms of if you don't have a Mac, I have instructions for this, just so that we can all be on the same page, because I do think it'll be a lot easier if we can all edit on our computers in some formation. So let me just pull that up really quickly. Oh,
My computer's dead.
if you want to come over here, that's totally fine. Yeah, sit in the corner. So I am in a Slack. Okay. We'll be with you guys in a second. Okay, so this, and then temp1 and password for the username and the password. So these are the instructions in terms of connecting for a PC. Would it be easier if I Slack them to you?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, just so that you're able to get on there too.
Do you also Slack it to people?
Yeah. No, of course. I'm gonna put it in the Slack, just so that everybody can. And you have a PC as well?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I put it in the new members Slack channel. So if you guys go there, then you should be able to also access it that way. But anywho, okay, so that's the whole means of connecting to the server, which will be really helpful if you're editing on campus or within our office. Obviously, you are able to edit like on an external hard drive or just on your laptop in general, but that's mostly the way that we do it in the club. So that's that. So number 2, the most important aspect of editing, truthfully, is your file organization. Organizing your files into a very clear and consistent manner is gonna make it so much easier down the line. When I first started editing, I would constantly edit out of my downloads, which is something that you really don't wanna do, just because Premiere can be really finicky, and if you move your media around, it can have a hard time registering where that media actually is. So from the get-go, if you're having an organized file structure, you're gonna be set. So I'm gonna go through what that kind of means. So if you guys are on the server and you're connected to it and you navigate to content 2025 fall, we have it very organized in this manner, and then you go to operations, you should be able to see a folder that says footage and also one that says Celena Bud. So let me know if you're able to see that. Yeah, you can see that? Perfect. So if everybody can make a folder within this folder that just has your first and last name, that'll be the area that we'll build your file structure for in terms of building a sequence. So you can just like add it here and you can just right click, new folder, and then add your name. How are you doing over here?
Good.
It's working-ish? Oh, okay, yay, awesome, okay. So as I was saying before, you can navigate to content, and then you can go to 2025, you can go to fall, you can go to operations, and then you can make a folder that has your name on it just so we can build like a proper file structure there. So let me know when everybody's got that down. Does that sound good? Cool, awesome. So I also additionally within this section of the server, and like we can go over the different sections of the server later if people are interested in it, I made a folder called footage that has another folder called video, GoPro footage, and music, just so we can kind of experiment with those. This is from a shoot that I did probably 2 weeks ago, so I just like chucked some of my own footage there. But usually when you go about doing this, right, you have your specific folder, and within that, it's always helpful to make a folder titled video, one titled audio, and then one titled export, so that all of the content that you have that you're working with is designated to different sections and you can really easily find it. Obviously your video, audio, any sort of audio related endeavors, and then your export will be the final version of the video that you create. And yeah, we also had one of our members, Jonas, that I mentioned before, within the server, he made a video project folder template, which is just another kind of avenue to be able to store your media if you wanted to organize it in this way, designating a section for projects, if you were using Audition and After Effects, which we can obviously like go into another time, which is a whole nother beast. And then also designating a section for your media, if you have photos, graphics, motion graphics, audio, all that sort of stuff. But obviously your file organization is really up to you in the way that you would like to do it, but this is just some recommendations, right? Okay, cool. So now that we all have a wonderful folder, are you also good here? Boom, look at that. You're just like on it. You guys know. Okay, cool. So now it probably would be helpful to navigate to the footage folder and take the video content that we have within here and copy it over to your specific folder, just so that all of it's organized in that manner. Obviously, at the end of a shoot, you typically would be offloading from like an SD card or something of that nature, and you would organize it from there, but just because we're not doing it in that formation right now, you can take some of the video that I have, put it in your video folder, and then same with the audio, you could take some of the music that I have and move that over to the audio folder. And you don't have to take everything, you can like take bits and pieces if you want to, but Does that generally make sense to people as of right now? Yeah? Okay, cool. Perfecto. And then we're actually going to get into going into Premiere, which is what we're all here for. You can just like copy and paste. You can also drag and drop. It's totally up to you. Might take a minute or two. Yeah, just because there's a lot of content. Whoa. Are you all good?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, awesome. So, okay, I'm actually going to open Premiere now. So, if you have Premiere on your computer, I would encourage you to do so as well. And hello, everybody. Premiere is going to open. So let me know when everybody has that opened, or if you have like somebody next to you that can open it too. And if you need any help in terms of like actually requesting a license, we can also send the link over if you need it.
If you want, I can put that in the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Cool. All right. Is everybody semi-logged in if you have it? Okay, cool. So, all right, welcome to Premiere, our lovely editing software. So first, obviously, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit New Project, and here, this is where you're gonna wanna save it to that location that you have designated to that we made in our lovely file structure. So if you see the Location tab that's right underneath what you're gonna name your project, you can hit the little down arrow and go to Choose Location, and then navigate to locations within the server. Obviously go to Snickerdoodle, you can go to Content, you can go to 2025, you can go to Fall, and then you can go to Operations, and then eventually find your name, and you're able to save the project there. One of the biggest things that I do see people do a lot when they're first started editing is they don't save it to a specific location, and they don't even know where their project is, so just doing that right from the get-go is definitely super helpful.
Wait, where do I go after Snickerdoodle?
Yeah, so you could go to Snickerdoodle and then go to Content
Oh.
and then go to 2025 and then you can go to Fall and then Operations
okay.
and then find your name.
Perfect.
So yeah, I know navigating the server a little bit in the beginning can be somewhat difficult, but how are you over here? Good-ish. Yeah, getting into Premiere. And we also have Premiere on all of the computers in the office, so you don't have to use your personal computer all the time if you want to edit for NUTV, but just so you know in general if you are doing it on your personal computer. So, okay. Now in the Save As section where you have a project name that whatever you please. I am going to name my project Operations Tutorial. And then you can hit create once that's all done.
I know. It's like frogging. Do we need to go to the export file or just?
So I would just save it to that folder that has your name into it, and you can just select that so then when you go in there, your project folder will be there.
So the export folder is going to be like the final.
Yes, yeah. So when you're completely done, which we can go through when we get to the export section, you could put your final in that folder so it doesn't get lost within the other media. But yeah, is everybody in a decent spot in terms of that? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go through a few of the slides and then I'll go back to my Premiere just so we can be more interactive with it. So when you actually get into Premiere, which we will be in a second, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're selecting the Premiere editing window. Sometimes when you're first starting out, you end up moving like tabs all over the place. But if you go to Window at the top of your Premiere and select Editing, you will be in the right formation that you need to be. So I'll go back and show you. So first here, obviously, we don't have any media, but you can navigate to Snickerdoodle, Content, once again, 2025, Fall. I know that it's a hassle, but it makes things work out in the end. And then you can go into your specific name where you'll have the footage, and then you could select some of the footage from that folder so that you have it in there. You don't have to import everything, but just so you have some media to work with. And then you see where it says name on the side? You can also put a title of your project there for the sequence. Just so everything is organized in that way. And then you can hit import. Let me know if I'm going too fast or anybody has any questions about anything.
Could you repeat the part about the sequences?
Yeah, so in terms of like the importing the media, yeah, so once you get into Premiere, you can navigate back to the network, which is Snickerdoodle, our server, and then you can select all of the media from there and rename the sequence, which is on the right side, so that it can all be in one location. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, all right, cool. I know this is not optimal in terms of my little screen, but I can come closer to if need be.
You just choose like one video?
Yeah, you can choose one video, that's totally fine. Choose whatever video you want. Anything you imagine. How are you over here? You're so close. You can also, like, if you want, you can come over here and just look at my computer if that's helpful, but we can also go through it afterwards as well. Cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to the good old slides, right? So here we're in the Premiere editing window. As I said before, if you're actually in Premiere and you're not seeing your screen semi-looking like this, you can navigate to Window and go to Editing so that you will have this general layout here, if that makes sense. Was everybody able to kind of get to this area?
It's not importing. Yeah, it's not importing like any.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah. It's taking a really long time to load.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Let's try doing one of these.
Can we just like import the media to the project panel below there?
Yeah, you can also do that. Let's see. Import, Snickerdoodle, content. I know it's a hassle to go through all of the folders every time. Okay, I'm just gonna try to go to footage.
Okay.
And then we'll try to do some video just to see if we can get something in there.
Okay.
Oh, might be working. It's loading.
Yeah.
I just give it a second. It'll eventually get there. But most of you guys see this screen. Okay, so just to explain it, this is the project panel, which is in the bottom left corner of your screen, where you can import additional media if you need to. So I know that you guys imported some already, but if you had additional clips that you wanted to get in there, you could double click on that section and navigate to your folder so that you would be able to put additional things into your timeline. Number 2, this is the source monitor. So this is where when you click on your media from the project panel, you'll be viewing it before you actually put it in your timeline. So I'll go over doing in and out points so that you can extract certain parts of that file into what you want to edit. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. I was like, you looked like you had a question. And then number 4, this is the program monitor. So anything that you have in your actual timeline will go into the program monitor itself, and then you'll be able to view your sequence there. So does that kind of make sense in terms of workflow? Okay, awesome. So importing media, as I said before, if you don't have media already imported, you can double click on this little panel in the bottom left section to get that in there, and you'll have anything you need to make your sequence. The best idea when you first import your media is to use bins, as we call them, so that you can organize all of your media in an even further formation. So I will show you guys a little bit on how to do that, right? So you see right now I have these 3 clips here, and then the one that's in, if you guys can you guys kind of see this? In the green. So there's 3 clips that are blue, and then one's green over here.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend doing is right-clicking. If you have a Mac, you might have to hit Control if you don't have a mouse. And you see where it says New Bin? If you're able to see that. Yeah? So you can hit New Bin and title this Video, and then select all of the media that you had that is related to be a video and drag it into that bin. So let me know. Yeah.
There we go.
So all you have to do, so you have this video here,
Yeah.
you can hit Control and right-click where it says New Bin,
Okay.
and now you'll have a fancy little bin that you can drag this video into so that anytime that you want to navigate to videos, it's all there. Let me know if anybody else has any questions about that. You can just drag it on in there. Everybody good with that? Okay, cool. Perfect. And as I was saying before, kind of emulating a similar file structure to what you had when you were putting all of your media on the server, you can kind of do a similar structure in your actual Premiere project itself so that you can find things as easy as possible. Right? Okay, so now we're gonna put some media in the source monitor, which is step number 2, right? So I have all of the video that I need within this bin here, but if I want to take and extract a specific section from it, I can double click there, play the video, I'm like, oh, you know, what do I got here? What's going on? And you can use the keyboard shortcuts, play your video a little bit more, pause it, and hit O on the keyboard, and you see how it just took that like little section of the video there, right? There's other ways of going about doing it. You can drag the entire video into your timeline and cut from there, but the way that at least works for me the best is using those in and out points so I can kind of manipulate the video beforehand. So once you have that, you can actually drag the video itself into the timeline and it will appear right there. There's some cases where you might just want the video portion, right? And there's some portions where you might just want the audio. So you're actually also able to, if you can see this little like film reel right here and then like the little waveform next to it, if you wanted to just take the video, you could drag that down. And then if you just wanted to take the audio, let's say you were using the natural sound of something, you could just drag the waveform and then it would just be the audio. So you can take all of it, you can take a little bit of it, you could take none of it if you don't want to. But that is the general gist there. So does anybody have any questions about that? If you do, it's literally no problem at all if something's not working correctly, but does that kind of make sense too? Okay, cool. Okay, so next, we have getting media into the timeline, which I basically already discussed. You use the keyboard shortcuts. You can repeat this step as many times as you want if you're building out a sequence. Just to mention, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but there's a lot of different editing styles for different departments, right? Like if you're doing an entertainment video, it probably will end up having a little bit of a different style than if you were doing a news video. A lot of the videos I end up editing are a lot of news focused, so I end up doing an interview, and then I'm cutting the interview up to get the sound bites that I want with that, and then I'm putting B-roll over it. So you obviously can edit in any avenue you choose, but there are somewhat different styles. Right, okay, so now we have our media in the timeline. And I'm like, oh, I'm watching this video. It looks okay. It's Matthew's Arena, very cool. But I don't really like the first second of that video. Maybe I want to cut it out. You can use the keyboard shortcut C, and then you see how this little like razor tool comes up, and you can select a section that you want to cut, and then you can hit V if you want to get back to just your mouse. And I'll also go over like more keyboard shortcuts later, and you can select that clip and just delete it. You can say, bye-bye, I don't want to see you anymore, see you later. And then another keyboard shortcut to keep in mind, I know that this could be a lot right now, is using Command or Control Z. Let's say that you made a cut and you go, oh no, I really didn't mean to do that, and I want to put that video back. Command Z will be your best friend in that regard. And then you can get your video right back the way that it was. So I don't know if you guys semi-tried cutting, but yeah, you can cut many different parts of your video. You can also, if this is the way that you want to go about doing it, you can kind of select your video and drag it to a point that you want it to be in order to make the video a little bit smaller. So you can also do it in that way. It just kind of depends on personal preference. I use both. It kind of just depends on the situation. But cool. Okay. Yeah, so you can either drag it, you can cut it. C, V, and Command Z are like very basic keyboard shortcuts that will very much be your friend. So those are just good to keep in mind, and I'll have a slide about those later. So cool, you have your video in the timeline, huge. Okay, another way that you could go about doing this, let's say that you have your video in the timeline and it's currently linked together, and you want to maybe move the audio a little bit over and move the video a little bit forward. You're able to right-click on the video here and do something called unlinking it. So now you see that they're not completely paired together and they're linked separately. Now I can move the audio a little bit over. Let's say for some reason I want the sounds of outside to go a little bit later. If my thing plays, now it's coming in later. Super cool. So does that kind of make sense to people too? Okay, awesome. Let me know too if this is like way too basic and if you want me to go faster. But yeah, okay, so that's the gist of unlinking media there. Now we're gonna get a little into audio, right? Audio is very important, and we want it to sound pretty decent when we're going about video making. So two of the most helpful audio tools in terms of Premiere Pro are using keyframes or adjusting your audio gain. So I'll show you the different ways of going about doing that. So, okay, I have this clip here. Let's say it was like really loud and it's hurting my ears, right? And I wanna make it a little bit quieter. You're able to use this line that if you get in really tight, you can also use plus and minus if you wanna get closer into your timeline, that you can adjust the levels of your audio with. So I don't know if people wanna try doing that. Did you get it? Yup, awesome. And then another way that you can manipulate it is if you right-click on the audio track itself and scroll all the way down to audio gain. You're also able to do plus or minus certain decibels so that you can get to that desired audio level. Ideally, you want your audio to fall between -6 and -12 on this bar to the right, just for optimal listening. So if you see something that is going way above that and you're seeing red and it's peaking, it might be time to, you know, lower it down a little bit. So this is just another way of going about doing that. This is a little bit fancier, not too fancy, but also if you have, let's say, a certain part of your audio that you want to be a little bit quieter than others, you're able to double click right here on the audio track and you'll see how it like expands a little bit. So it would be just to the left here. You can pull it down a little bit under where it says audio 1 and you'll see this like little diamond appear. Let me know if you guys see that. So you can double click once again on the audio track. and then you might see the diamond. Let me know if you guys, oh, do you see the diamond? Look at that, boom. I love it, I love a diamond. Oh. Beautiful. So, okay, now that you see the diamond, let's say I want the beginning of my piece to be a little bit louder. In the middle, I want it to go down, and then I want it to go back up. I could play it, I could hit the little diamond function right here, and then I could play it again, hit the diamond function again, and then you'll be able to kind of manipulate this line up and down so that parts of your audio can go down at the parts that you want it to. I can also reiterate that again if that was too fast. So now you'll see it goes down. Cool. So that's just something like a stylistic choice. It might be helpful in your video down the line. Now it's a little bit quieter.
It's kind of similar to Audition as well.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. They do have those functions, which is nice. Another thing to keep in mind with audio, especially if you're doing jump cuts or you have two audio sequences next to one another that you want to flow a little bit more seamlessly. So let's say I put 2 video clips in here, is using something called a crossfade, which will make sure that you're not hearing little cuts or bumps within your audio. And to be able to do that, if you could see this little box that's right here. I can also bring my my computer a little closer. There's this box that's between the 2 audio clips. If you drag on that box, you're gonna see something appear, and that'll make it so, like, let's say you're doing an interview, for example, and you're cutting between 2 parts of the interview, and there's like a weird pause or a jump. This will make it so it'll flow a little bit more seamlessly. So that's just another thing to keep in mind when you're editing between audio sequences. So it's like, whoa, look at that. Does all of that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. Perfect. My video is going. Okay, cool. So, another thing in terms of transitions, I already mentioned it. There are a lot of different transitions, like so many freaking transitions on Premiere. But one of the most basic ones is like a cross dissolve, which is just like a classic dissolve between 2 clips. So if you were to actually right click between 2 video sequences, you could hit something called apply default transitions, and then you'll see, oh, there's this little like fade that's happening. If my video would play. Just to like make it a little bit more fancy. Sometimes I like to use that. Is it looking fancy over there?
No, it's the same video clip, so there's no.
Oh, okay. So it's just like the same one over and over again. That's totally fine, no worries. Yeah, so those are just some basic transitions. You can obviously explore different effects. If you actually go into your window here and then you go to effects, there's like a little area that'll pop up where you were initially importing your media, and you can explore all of the effects that are in there. So like for our mobsters video, when I was doing like the little transitions between the different sequences, this was my best friend. They were cool. They added some new ones. Awesome. Okay. So next, Tejas next week is going to be doing mad coloring. So you guys should totally go to that. But in terms of like basic coloration on Premiere, let's say your video's insanely overexposed, you can navigate to Window and go to the color panel. So let's say I was on this video and the sky is looking very bright to me and I want to tone it down a little bit. I'm able to adjust temperature, exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, all of that through this panel. And then obviously that just depends on personal preference with the way that you want the video to look like.
What you pressed on what color?
Oh yeah, so if you navigate to Window and then you see where it says Lumetri color. Do you say Lumetri or Lumetri? I say Lumetri, okay, yeah. So if you navigate to there, you're able to play a little bit around with different sections of the color panels. So that's just something good to keep in mind. Cool. And then exporting. Woohoo. You've made a video, you have some transitions, you've fixed the audio. Whoa, you've changed the exposure. Now, it's time to export that bad boy. So, if you navigate to export, which is obviously at the top section, this is where your export folder is gonna come into play. So you see where it says location? You can click on that blue link that's right there, and then go to the export folder that you created and hit save, so that the final creation, your final masterpiece that you made today, that beautiful video, can be saved in that location. And then these are just some tips in terms of exporting. It will automatically default to these formats, but just hitting, if you go down to like video and you're going to more, like rendering it at a maximum depth or using maximum render quality can just help ensure that you have the best quality of your video. So those are also just some settings to keep in mind in terms of exporting there. And then these are our handy keyboard shortcuts. So a lot of the time, Premiere will crash, unfortunately. So it's always good to keep in mind to save your project a lot. It will auto-save, but let's say you just worked really hard on one section of your video, always do a little Command S. Oh, just make sure that, you got that there. Command N can help you make a new sequence. Command I to import footage. Command Shift D helps you do that crossfade that I was talking to you about if you don't want to just like drag between the two audio sequences. And then you can do Command, or you could just hit C, you could do Command K if you want to cut a clip. But those are the basics of Premiere. Does anybody have any questions? I know that like as maybe first time going through it, it might seem a lot and very redundant, but the biggest takeaways are doing proper file organization from the get-go is gonna get you where you wanna be, not saving to your downloads, and then just knowing a few keyboard shortcuts to be able to manipulate your media. But yeah, does anybody have any questions or things that they're interested in like going into a little further? What's up?
Is there a way to make it go faster? Like, it's like,
Oh, you're like your actual computer itself is lagging?
or like when I'm trying to use Premiere Pro, it lags a lot.
Yeah, actually, so that is a really good question. So you see, number one, you see this yellow bar that's at the top? Sometimes it's helpful to go to sequence and render your media just so that it's playing a little bit faster. And also, you see how I have this section here, my playback resolution that's set to full? Sometimes that can make it so your video is a little bit laggy. So if you set that to 1/4, it'll make it so that your media is playing a little bit faster. So those are just like a few recommendations that I have. I don't know, Tejas, do you have any other recommendations in terms of making Premiere work faster? Mine's usually like the resolution or rendering.
If you go to your preferences and you like Premiere, what it does is it has a cache of all your footage that you put into it, so it can pull quickly from it. Sometimes if that cache gets too big, it just slows everything down. So you can go to your preferences, and like there's media cache.
And clear.
And you can clear or purge your cache. Doing that will help. Also, if your actual computer is like full on storage, that will slow things down. If you're not plugged into a power source, that will slow things down. What else? There's always stuff. And if you're pulling footage from a server that you're not directly wired to, that can also slow things down. That's why people will, if they're working on projects that are on the server, they'll use the actual computers in the office, or they'll use the wired connection that we have, because having a wired connection to like a server system is a lot faster than just wirelessly connecting like you guys are right now.
Yeah. And even though we are just a room over, like being in there will definitely be a little bit more helpful. Also, if you had your own personal hard drive and you were editing off of that rather than connected to the server, if you were really far away from it, like obviously if you don't live in Massachusetts and you were attempting to connect to the server, that might be a little bit of an issue in terms of it going quickly. But yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the playback resolution is also super helpful. So just setting that as well. But yeah, are there any other questions in terms of, yeah.
Like to like export
Mhm.
Do you have like a high quality, like how do you make it the quality good, and especially like when you upload to YouTube, because like YouTube sometimes like could degrade your video quality.
Yeah, exactly. So on this last slide here, I don't know if you want to take a picture of it. So if you go into your video format and you're able to hit the render at maximum render quality and render at maximum depth, those will be helpful in terms of getting your video to the best quality possible. I know a lot of the times though, when you do export it to YouTube, sometimes it does diminish the quality a little bit. I don't know if you also have anything else on that, but usually I go in terms of render quality and maximum depth.
Yeah, so when you upload to YouTube, what it does is it compresses your files because YouTube wants to take up as little space as possible. So it'll crush all of your your video down as much as it can. One of the best ways to have it compress it as less as possible is to give it a compressed file already. So one of the ways to do that is in your export settings, you always want to export it as an MP4. So you have a bunch of options. You have like QuickTime, DNxHR, all that crazy shit. Make sure you're exporting as a MP4 file, and then you have the render file, and then you have the codec. The codec is essentially the way that it renders the actual video. Make sure you're set to H.264 or ideally H.265. H.265 is a more compressed but less quality loss version of H.264. So when you're uploading to YouTube, you always want to do exporting as an MP4 file in an H.265 codec, if that makes sense. And then also always do render at maximum depth, render at maximum quality. Yeah.
Yeah. Good suggestions. This is what generally, yeah, like the format, rendering, and then you can also do audio settings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this might be helpful to take a picture of just in terms of when you guys are actually exporting if you want to keep that in mind. There's also different audio settings that you can change just to ensure that you have the best quality possible. I'll send this afterwards too, so that you guys have it. Does everything make sense in terms of like getting the media in and cutting stuff too? It's pretty intuitive once you actually get into it. And I know sometimes navigating the keyboard shortcuts can be like finicky and then you'll forget which one applies to what, but in time it becomes a lot easier. But yeah, are there any more questions? I can also, like if we want to go through anything more individually on your laptops, we can do that too. But yeah, that's the gist. So I'll send the slides, but I appreciate all of you coming. You're gonna be rock star editors. I mean, I still have so much more to learn, but you're all gonna be rock star editors. And we need more editors, so you guys should edit. But yeah, that's the gist of that. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you.